Hello, everyone. We are live. Welcome to Help Desk Live, episode 32. We're broadcasting from Burlington High School in Burlington, Massachusetts. I'm Jen Sheffer. I'm the facilitator of the Burlington High School Help Desk. And today we have a wonderful guest who will be introduced to you shortly. But I also have two of my student geniuses who will be facilitating the majority of today's conversation. They are brand new to hosting Help Desk Live. They're going to do a fantastic job. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you now, starting with you, sir.
So my name is Shivank, and it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm currently a senior at BHS. I'm going to Becker College in the fall for game design with a programming concentration. I currently know 3 languages, C++, JavaScript, and I'm learning Swift, which is Apple's programming language. And so throughout my life, I've always loved video games, and I decided that that's what I want to go into, work with groups, team building, and all those other activities to make unique and powerful games that other people can play and we can play as well. And it's really just a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
And I'm Quentin Inglis. I'm a sophomore. This is my first semester at the help desk. And what I want to do, it's not entirely based with technology, but I want to go into paleontology because it's something I've always been interested in since I was a kid, and I feel like it'd be really cool to go into. And yeah,
you'll be using technology,
yeah.
I'm sure, as a paleontologist. So I'm not sure who's introducing our guests, but
I guess I'll introduce. So
all right. So joining us today is
Aaron Sherman, and he is the creator of Storyboard That. And for those of you who don't know, for Storyboard That is a website that lets you create, as what it says, storyboard, which can tell stories for basically anyone. They can use it for businesses. Teachers can use it for their own purposes. And then there's also a student section where students can use it. And there's like a free trial version, which, by the way, is remarkable because it has a lot of wide range of characters, scenes, such as classical, homes, historical. And it's really good because if you just want to try it out, it's good for people who want to. And if you want to go further, you can go ahead and pay for, I think it's $9.99 a month, if I'm correct. And then you can basically pay for that, and you can get a limited usage for that. And it's really good to integrate that into the classroom.
So really quickly, before we learn more about Storyboard That, we're going to learn everything about the application today. Just for viewers, just really briefly want to give a shout out to the host and creator of TeacherCast.tv, Jeff Bradbury, who connected Aaron and I together going on 2 weeks now at the TEDx Youth event here in Burlington. Aaron is local to the Burlington area, so he was able to come and check out the TEDx Youth event, and that's when Jeff introduced us, and I thought, hey, what are you doing next week? Do you want to be a guest on Help Desk Live? And we've had various developers on our show, makers of notability, and we're hoping to have Bunsey in a couple weeks. So anytime I can connect, my students, aspiring coders, designers, entrepreneurs, it really doesn't matter what career path my students want to pursue. They're going to learn from folks like you, Aaron. So thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy schedule. I know as a business owner, it's there is no downtime. So I appreciate you being here.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so I think one of the first questions, Shiv will jump into that first question, and I think it's gonna be a big one.
Okay, so my first question is, thank you for joining us first of all. So what motivated you to jumpstart this idea for Storyboard? And for anyone who is unfamiliar with Storyboard or hasn't heard of it, could you give us like a brief overview for them?
Absolutely. And I think you actually did a better job than I do of describing the product, but
I told him to research.
Research is good. I'm very impressed with everything that's been said so far.
Thank you.
I joined a small startup back in 2002 that had the novel idea to sell free business cards on the internet, located about 3-4 miles from your high school, actually, over in Lexington, Massachusetts at the time. And after 10 years of working for what now most people have heard of as Vistaprint and building a billion-dollar company, I said, okay, it's time for me to do something different. And something that I'm very passionate about is what I call the 4 C's, which is the intersection of critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. And something I find I really struggle with, as well as many other people I've witnessed, is really taking your thoughts, distilling them down to something small, consumable, and then passing this off to somebody else to really understand what you're thinking and where you're coming from. In the business term, we'd call that your ladders of reference, frame of reference. And then once you have this really great understanding of what the other person's saying, having a very good dialogue about it. And I came across the concept of using storyboards as a way to, one, sit down and organize your thoughts in a very concise format. And two, storyboards are incredibly easy to read due to their brevity. So you look at a storyboard and about 30 seconds, you know what the other person's thinking. Whether or not you agree with it is a different conversation, but that very nicely folds into the area where we can have this very detailed conversation. And I said, this is it. This is what I'm passionate about. And I gave it my all and I started the company. And so just going back, a storyboard is just like you would see in the TV show Mad Men or in Hollywood. It's a visual way to show a narrative with characters, scenes, and dialogue and tell a story.
So I'm going to just interject because you just made starting a business sound oh so simple.
It is simple.
Oh, sure. You know, what was the process? Did you have to seek out venture capitalism or capitalists? Did you have to go to a bank? Just because I don't want to sugarcoat anything for my students. I want them to know that they're going to leave today going, oh, I'm starting a business tomorrow. You know, and I guess, you know, with the lean startup business model, that is a possibility. But could you give them a little bit more detail on from the idea to, okay, I now I'm a DBA, which is doing business ads. Like, how did that all happen? What was that process like? Could you give us some highlights, some ups and downs?
A lot of downs, a lot of ups is the abridged version. So I have a technical background, and I was able to, in my free time, begin to figure out what the product of Storyboard That would look like. And it wasn't until the company was making $2.79 per week. Once again, I repeat that, $2.79 per week for 6 weeks in a row. That was a massive, massive milestone. And once I knew, going back to the lean startup, that I had a product that people were willing to pay for, that there was a definite real business, I took a pretty large jump and left a very comfortable lifestyle of working for a fantastic company and went full-time on working for Storyboard That. My company is what's referred to as bootstrapped, which means all the money for the company comes from paying customers. We do not have any investors, and we make our money, as you said, free trial $9.95 per month. At $9.95 per month by a lot of users, pays all the bills, and it's 4 years later, it's now myself plus 7 full-time employees, and it's entirely funded by our fantastic community. So we really do need the orders, so please buy the product, but I know it's not a very fun thing to say, but having a company with no investors gives us a lot more flexibility to go after the things we believe in, that we feel are important, without having to answer to an investor saying, I want my money now. Always gives us the flexibility to take the 5-10 year down the line of, well, this may not be the best decision today, but we truly believe in 3 years this will have a massive payoff. And bootstrapping has a lot of pros and a lot of cons, but if you can bootstrap a company, it's definitely a good way to go.
So we won't see you on Shark Tank anytime soon.
Not with this idea. I have other ideas I'd go on Shark Tank for, but not this one.
Great. I have another question, but unless you guys want to jump in.
I think that's like really interesting how, you know, we're meeting right now for like the first time, but yet you started a company that was in Lexington, which is really close to our high school. And
so I did not start a company in Lexington. I worked at a startup out of Lexington.
Oh, you worked at a startup company in Lexington.
That startup company, when I left, was doing $1 billion a year in revenue.
And that was Vistaprint?
Vistaprint.
Yeah, we use them all the time.
Yep, I joined them as a small startup.
It's a great company. And so your technical you mentioned you have a technical background. Is it in computer science, computer programming? You have a business background, combination of everything?
So I did not mention I have a business background, but I have my bachelor's of science is in management, and I have a master's of science in computer science. I knew when I was in high school, a senior like you, Shiv, I started programming professionally for money. And I don't know how good your history is of the late 90s, but back in the late 90s, all you needed was an idea, and VCs were throwing millions and millions, and people were printed millionaires left and right. And I said, that's it. I want to go to college. I want to start my own company. And so from day one when I entered university, it was always with the intent to start my own company, which is why I have the degree in business and computer science.
So that brings me to my next question. So now you're the boss.
I'm the boss.
You're the boss. You can take a day off anytime you want, which I'm guessing you probably haven't taken a day off in a long, long time.
Not true.
But you mentioned you have 7 employees. So for somebody like an aspiring coder, programmer like Shiv, or just for Quentin in general, what do you look for when you're hiring? When you hired your staff, and what are the qualities and the skills and characteristics that you're looking for? And could you tell us a little bit more about the team members that you have and their job functions?
So lots of different parts to that question. The single most important thing for me is, are the people brilliant and passionate? If they are not both brilliant and passionate at whatever it is that their domain expertise is in, I do not want them in my office. I will repeat that again. People that are not passionate about the thing that they do not belong in Storyboard That. Everyone who works at the company has degrees in the things that they're excellent at, and we have former teachers with multiple master's degrees in education. They're incredibly passionate about what they do, and they love it. We have artists that went to school full-time to do things like animation and set designs, and now they're doing characters and building scenes. If they did not have Storyboard That as their job, and I know this because we've had many conversations about it, the type of work they're doing at Storyboard That is the type of work they did at home for fun as their hobbies. If you would not do what we pay you to do for fun on the weekend, you probably don't belong in my organization.
That is a really cool philosophy,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, so that it's kind of similar to the individual learning endeavor project that my students do. It's our version of the 20% time, Google's 20% time project, where it's like, if you could do whatever you want to do in school and learn whatever you want to learn independently, the things that you do at home that you're passionate about, you can do that 20% of the time in the curriculum here in the help desk. So Quentin, he didn't mention it in his introduction, but he's a big gamer and he's created his own YouTube channel for his ILE because he's at home playing games all the time. And I got an email from his mother saying, could you please verify that he's supposed to be making a YouTube channel about playing games? And I said, yes, in fact, he can. Because, like you said, if you're not passionate about something, then
why bother?
What's the point? So wouldn't it be nice if every entrepreneur who is hiring had that same mentality? Get paid to do something that you love. So
I remember when I was in college, they made the comment when we're seniors in college, they said, take the job that you're most interested in. Research shows that you'll make far more money 3 years later if you take a job that you like than if you take the job that pays more money in the short term. It's doing what you love no matter what it is. There is nothing better in life. And I love what I do. This is who I am. So there's nothing else I would rather be doing.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. So what else? What do you guys want? What else do you guys want to know about Storyboard That and some of the things that one of the things you mentioned is the 4 C's. You're passionate about the 4 C's. So unless you're an educator, you probably don't know what the 4 C's are: communication, creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration. So what led you to want to pursue the education market? And you've mentioned customers a few times. And do you have a specific demographic? Is there a specific grade level that you're seeing or content area that you're seeing that are heavy users of Storyboard That? And do you have any analytics you could share with us on how you are doing now and where you see growth potential in the future?
Sure. So the 4 C's I did not realize were from education, nor did I realize they were a thing. I was sitting there doing, I know this now. I was sitting there
definitely a thing, 21st century, yep.
doing business strategy, and I'm like, okay, well, what are the things I am passionate about while I was looking for an idea for a company? And I had a list of many, many things. And I noticed one day that I had put in order critical thinking, collaboration, and communication, just because those are things that I'm very passionate about. And I realized that those are 3 C's in a row. And I later added the 4th one, creativity, because I sort of had left it out, even though it's so core to who I am as a human being, that it was always so core to who I was that it didn't occur to me to write it down. And after I started talking about it, people were like, oh, the 4 C's from education. And I was like, sure enough. So it
was meant to be.
It was meant to be. And you asked about demographics, and you've also mentioned the book, The Lean Startup. One of the more interesting random facts about Storyboard That is it was never meant for kids, and definitely not meant for grade school. Not really meant for students. The primary market was in what I refer to as product development, which is the art and science of designing products for other people. And one of the things I say when reading Lean Startup or in these other books is really understand who the customer is. Think about, they start here, they have a problem, then something happens, then they find your product, and all of a sudden they're so happy. And it's a narrative. And if you think about business from that perspective, you're much more likely to launch products people like. And storyboard's a very natural way to tell a story about people. Once I launched the product, the website Free Tech for Teachers with Richard Byrne picked up on and said, designed for businesses, great for educators. And I think one of the reasons we've been so successful in the education market is it's not a watered down product. There's nothing in Storyboard that we have kindergartners using or first graders using that is fundamentally different than the Storyboard that we're selling to the biggest and largest of the technology companies in the world. So when you're using Storyboard That or kindergartner or the biggest, most innovative companies in the world, they're all using the exact same product with no changes in features. So it is a wildly different demographic, what kindergartners come up with and what the leading innovators in the world come up with, but they're using the same system. And we also see a lot of people, our third market is people making commercials, YouTube videos, movies. So we see very, very different storyboards throughout the day.
Kind of sounds like the iPad. It's for people who are from 2 to 92.
2 to 9, or more like 7.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I hope for their individual learning endeavor, they have to create some sort of visual to talk about the process that they went through to either achieve the goals of their ILE or fail to achieve the goals of the ILE. And that's okay. If they fail, it doesn't mean they're going to fail the project, but Storyboard That could be something that you guys use in your presentation to walk me through the process that you went through. So I hope that they will do that, and then they could share the storyboards with you.
Failure is never a bad thing.
Yeah, I know.
Failure is one of the most valuable things you can do in your life.
I agree.
Totally agree. So it's web-based, but it's the tool itself is web-based. I just want to get a little technical about the tool.
Absolutely.
So it's web-based, but it's compatible with an iPad because we have a few iPads here in Burlington.
HTML.
I've been reading about Burlington since I entered the education market. With your world class having iPads for everyone instead of a school textbook budget, it was the story I've always heard. Is that true?
We have quite a few faculty who are transitioning to online resources, a couple teachers who have done away with textbooks entirely. They're project-based. So that's something that we've been transitioning to over the past 5 years. And open education resources, OER, I'm not sure if you've heard about OER, but that's another avenue that we're looking at, curating resources, high-quality resources to create our own digital versions of textbooks. So
that's excellent. In answer to your question, Storyboard That is what is referred to as an HTML5 responsive website that when you're on an iPad or any other tablet device, auto detects that you do not have a mouse, but you have a touch interface and slightly alters the user interface accordingly.
Wow.
A lot of reasons to do it that way. The biggest reason I like is we hear from schools that have an iPad cart, Chromebook cart, and a computer lab. And then students can use the iPads one day, they can come in, they go to the computer lab one day, they go home. And because it's all one system, you're not worrying about oh, does my storyboard go from here to there? It's your storyboard's always in the same place, and your device changes.
Does it, as you're working on a storyboard, because I'm thinking about an app that I use that's web-based as well, is Haiku Deck. And I like Haiku Deck because I can start creating a deck and it saves in the cloud automatically. So the next time I go, I can just continue to edit wherever I left off. Is Storyboard That similar to that, or
It
you have
is.
to continue to save? Okay.
I mean, you have to hit the save button, which
Okay.
is something we are working on reducing the amount of need for. But all your information is stored in the cloud. I believe physically the cloud is located in Virginia.
Oh, okay. I was wondering where that cloud was.
I believe the cloud we're using is currently physically in Virginia,
Okay.
but I'm not sure that. I think my license may say if we host with Microsoft. I think if they want to move it, I think they're legally allowed to, but I'm pretty sure it's in Virginia right now.
Okay. I had another technical question that just escaped me.
I mean, that's
Do you
really
guys
good.
have
It
one?
allows for like easy transition from one device to another, and how, you know, before, as you said, you didn't intend it for to be used for, you know, children, or, you know, just it was just like a product you wanted to roll out. So it's like how it's grown throughout, and how many people and like other groups, such as, I don't want to say the old group, but, you know, people who are not familiar with it, and, you know, young people, they're also familiarizing themselves with it. It's just really interesting, and how they've come to terms with that, and how everybody can use it now.
Yeah, it always sounds cheesy, but one of the things that's sort of, you know, 2020 hindsight, human beings, we like to tell stories. And once you say that really incredibly obvious statement, we go, well, who tells stories? Well, first graders tell stories. Fifth graders tell stories. High schoolers tell stories. Businesses tell stories. Hollywood tells stories. Commercials tell stories. And you're like, oh yeah, everybody all day long tells stories. And Storyboard That's just an amazing platform to create and tell stories.
The question I had just popped back into my mind. Is it connected with Google? Like if we open up Storyboard That, can we sign in with our Google accounts? Because we're a Google. Oh, good.
We prefer that too.
Good. Does it integrate with Google Classroom? Because we have a lot of teachers who have adopted that as their digital workflow, or students get a link to the completed storyboard and then send it through a link?
So Storyboard That has a teacher interface, and when you sign up as a teacher account or a school account, we say go to storyboardthat.com/classroom, enter your school name, and then enter the token for your school, and then that will then associate the individual account to the teacher of the school, and then from there the teacher can see everything that's in there. But you can also download any storyboard as an image, save it to Google Drive. You can export it as a PowerPoint, which will open in Google Slides or Keynote. You can do live slideshows right from the product. And so we don't have direct integration with Google Classroom per se, but we have deep integration with Google Sign-On. And one of the things we've heard again and again from our customers, and if you go back to the 4 C's, the communication and collaboration part, is the importance of taking a storyboard and effectively sharing it. And there's probably 20 different ways one can share, App Smash, and any other variant of those two, a storyboard. So, and we see users all day long doing every single combination and always learning about new ways people have thought of to do it.
I love app smashing. App smashing gets a bad rap from a lot of people. They're like, oh, the focus becomes on technology and just for technology's sake. But to me, app smashing is like the epitome of exercising high-level creativity. Like, how can I take two different apps and piece them together, or, you know, more than two different apps? So I'm interested, what are some of the other apps that people are smashing with Storyboard That? Just give me some ideas that I can steal.
I think what I just heard from a teacher over in the Blue Hills area, she had all of her students create one act from a Shakespeare play, and then she's taking the best of all the storyboards. So she has all the acts and all the scenes of a Shakespeare play, probably Julius Caesar, and then she's using that to then make a physical book. So she's going to have a illustrated graphic novel of Julius Caesar, print out, and then the students can actually flip through the material. So that one I thought was really cool from a digital to physical. But we hear stories of people upload to WeVideo. definitely, I think the most obvious is going to PowerPoint or Keynote. I think knowing how to make good presentation skills, or Haiku, or Prezi, any other presentation tool. I think knowing how to tell a story. Presentations are part of telling a story. Those are the ones I know of. Definitely embedding on blogs.
Yep. Those are some cool ideas. I mean, certainly more engaging than a worksheet, right? I mean, I'm just thinking, like, if you want to create a homework assignment that students will actually do, and maybe be excited about, and maybe provoke some creative thought instead of just some regurgitation and low-level recall. What do you guys think? Would you rather do a storyboard that than
I think it would be a good twist to, what we could do, you can do worksheets on the iPad, or, physical worksheets we get. So I think Storyboard That would be a unique twist to, what we do, and a lot of people would enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you say, okay, we're going to do this project, and the kids are like, oh, because they know it's going to be hard, to do a project and something that requires some creativity. It's like, can you just give me a worksheet? It's like, no, I want you to think. I want you to be challenged. I want you to hopefully develop some passion, too. If it's real world, if it could be real world in some capacity, like doing something like this. So, Quentin, you have a question you can ask?
I do have a question. I was wondering if there were any ideas that you had, like, during the planning process that you had to scrap.
Yes. The one, if you have not read the book, The Lean Startup, I highly, highly recommend you read it in the next several years. It's required reading for everyone at my company. When you create a business, your assumptions are going to be wrong. You can spend a long time researching and have analysis through process via analysis, or you can just be wrong. And so the original version of Storyboard That was designed for businesses, and businesses use desktop software. And so the original version of Storyboard That was a desktop application that you downloaded, installed on a Windows machine for businesses. It sold one version.
Wow.
I had to, after several months of working on it, went away for a few days, because back, you said taking vacation. I actually am a very firm believer in working insanely hard and then taking a vacation and not thinking. And usually on day 3 or 4, I'm like, wow, looking at this problem all wrong. And I said to myself, the product failed. And I looked at my wife and I said, I failed. I need to start over. And the company almost died then and there. And I rewrote the product as a website. And then a week after the website was launched, as I was saying, Free Tech for Teachers found it, and it went from a business website to an educational website. So I had the target market wrong and I had the technology wrong. Pretty painful.
Thank you, Richard Byrne, right?
Thank you, Richard Byrne.
We've had him on Help Desk Live as well. He's a great guy. He does a lot for teachers. So you are a risk taker. You have persevered through failure. You're super passionate, hardworking, determined, creative. You have technical expertise. You know exactly the type of employee you want.
But I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a risk taker.
You sound like you are to me. No? Okay.
I take very calculated risk.
Right.
I think very different than, I'm not going to a casino and betting my life's fortune on a random number.
Right.
Every year I set clear goals for what the company had to achieve. Otherwise, I would go back and get a traditional job. And basically the math I ran was, if I try this and I fail, would I be better off, or if I went and I got an MBA? If you get an MBA, you're out of the workforce for 1 to 2 years, and you're looking at anywhere, if you go to a school, and for those of you that are watching this, we're in the Massachusetts, Boston-based area. So if you go to one of the many absolutely fantastic MBA programs in the Boston area, you're looking at 2 years of your life and $100,000 in cost. And I said, for 2 years of my life and $100,000 in cost is what an MBA would cost. Would I be, and if I failed in 2 years on my business, would the benefit of all the things I learned from failing at my company be worth the equivalent of an MBA? And I said, probably. And so, yes, it was a huge risk, but I also believe that in the tech industry, they reward risk. They reward failure if you learn from it. So I could walk away be out some money. Like, let me be out some money, be out some sleep, but I would be in a better place than I would have been 2 years earlier career-wise from that risk. So yes, it's a huge risk, but it's also a very calculated worst-case scenario.
Absolutely a strategic risk, and it's not just on a whim, like, oh, I'm going to try this.
This was not on a whim.
Yeah, it's a lot of critical and analytical thinking for sure. Can you, the bell's going to ring shortly, so that'll indicate the end of our broadcast, but I don't know, if it were me, and I was getting ready to graduate high school and pursue computer science, I would say, Aaron, do you hire interns?
I do not hire interns.
Yeah.
Oh, when we go off the air, can we talk about if you know anybody who might?
We can.
Yeah, I said, guys, this is about networking, right? So
Yeah.
I think for Shiv, especially because you are doing something that he's, interested in, so it might be nice to make a connection here for the future. So can you tell everybody how you connected with Jeff Bradbury? Because he's the one responsible for connecting us, but how did you and Jeff connect as we get ready to wrap up?
Jeff found me. I have no idea how he found me.
He finds everyone.
I'm relatively easy to find. If people go looking for me, they can find me. But I will say it. My email address is aaron@storyboardthat.com. You can always tweet the company at Storyboard That. Though I will be honest, somebody else that is not me will be the one responding to you. But aaron@storyboardthat is only me. Of course, you can find the website www.storyboardthat.com. But I don't know how Jeff found me. But once he found me, once he found the company, I don't think it was too hard to track me down.
Yeah. And so how are you affiliated with TeacherCast.tv now, or you guys, you've been on his show, I'm going to say.
I've been on the show. I am a paid advertiser on his platform. So I was not one that he found me, but, I have found that to be an interesting marketing channel. But so I guess that's how I'm affiliated. I occasionally pay advertising bills.
Yeah, there you go. Well, he has a great platform too, and his slogan, "Teachers Helping Teachers," is so true. And I know that Storyboard That helps a lot of teachers, helps a lot of students express their creativity and demonstrate their understanding of different concepts. And I'm hoping that Shiv and Quentin, well, I'm not hoping, I'm requiring, that they're going to write a reflection about this interview, and
I'd love to read it.
Rather than write a blog post, they can create a storyboard that goes through the whole this whole conversation and express the conversation in a digital story format. I think let's do Monday. So just so you know. Any other burning questions that you guys have for our guests before we
I guess
sign
it
off?
would be like any advice to, if you're looking to go out, like, as I said, like game design or like computer science, any advice for people, or like what you would be looking for?
So you actually checked all the lists of the things I'd recommend. When I was in college and when I've worked professionally, the people that go into computer science because they read, it makes a good salary, and they don't love it, are miserable in college, they're miserable in their jobs, and they don't get promoted because they don't like it. You told me from the beginning, I've learned 3 languages. You don't learn 3 languages by accident. That means you love it, you're passionate about it. So you've already passed the single biggest hurdle. The next thing I'd recommend, come up with a project and work on it. And when you're from now, when you're a better developer, keep working on it. And throughout your college time, make sure to take time to develop your own software that has nothing to do with your classwork, but is very much about things you're passionate about, and either keep working on the same product for 3 or 4 years, or keep it coming up with new ones, but never stop innovating, never stop creating, never stop building. And you do that, you show up in a job interview, and you say, I've built these 15 products over the last 4 years. Everyone's going to be like, I want that guy. Nobody wants the person that says, I was in college, I didn't really like it, but I did it for the money, and now I can code. You're like, that's nice. And you want the person with passion.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Something with, something to show for it, something tangible that you can show. So this is why we do Help Desk Live, because frankly, what you just said to these two, students of mine, you can't get that from a textbook. You can't get that authentic, information in real life, real world knowledge. So I hope you guys appreciate that, because there are no. We also had on the vice president or the president of the Segway Corporation, and he gave advice on international business strategies to my students. So that's why I don't use textbooks. That's why we do these kinds of things, because like I said, this is real life, this is real world, and I think once you guys watch this back, you're going to be like, whoa, that was a lot. So
international business.
Yeah.
My last tip on that one, in your mind, think about what a taxi looks like. Now think about what a taxi looks like in New York City. Think about what a taxi looks like in London. That's how different a taxi is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being with us today. I'll let them wrap it up, say their goodbyes.
It was just a pleasure meeting you, and I certainly learned a lot from not just now, but towards looking into the future and how overcoming failures. That doesn't mean you have to fail and stop right there. It just means you have to keep going and learn from that.
Keep going. Pick yourself back up.
Yeah, exactly. So I really thank you for joining with us, and I think. Quinn, you want to say anything?
Yes, thank you for
sharing.
Thank you for joining it. Thank you for sharing this whole story with us, and I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, and thank you for everybody who watched Help Desk Live episode 32. Stay tuned for episode 33 coming within the next couple of weeks. We're going to have the creators of the application Buncee joining us, and with that, we are signing off. Thank you so much for watching.